Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. I am your host, Matt Cooper. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Matt Rupert.
How you doing, my man?
And Matt Jackson.
What's going on, guys?
I am excited to dig into today's prospect, Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana. He was a fun one, but it's good to have the whole band back together. It's been a while, man. I mean, last week we were down Rupert, right?
No, you were down me. I was traveling back. I was traveling back from that conference.
That's right. You were coming back from the conference. The week before that, y'all were doing it without me, and then before that, we were without. Anyway, it's been a while since the three of us have been together, so it's good to be back. But I mentioned on today's show we are taking a look at Omar Cooper Jr. And Cooper measured in at the NFL Combine at 6 foot, 199 pounds. It's good to have official heights and weights, isn't it? Right. And all the measurables that, post combine is just fun. So do you guys get to watch any of the combine?
I watched some of it. Yeah. Didn't as much get to watch Saturday. I was driving my niece back to drop her off at her parents' house. I was getting updates from you, Cooper, about so-and-so ran his 40 time at this and so-and-so ran his 40 time at that. I did find it. You mentioned heights earlier. I find it interesting that Aaron Anderson weighed in at 15 extra pounds than he did at the Senior Bowl. So that was the most interesting thing for me that happened at the combine.
Yeah, I didn't get to catch anything. I took my oldest son on his first backpack camping trip. So,
because we were texting you all weekend, and it was showing up green bubbles. I was like, he must be off the grid somewhere.
Yeah, it's wild. Like that spot I go to, 4 minutes before we got there, I had full bars, and then 4 minutes later, it's SOS only. I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting anything this weekend. But we had a great time, but I had a lot to catch up on because there's a lot that happened at this combine.
How many texts did you come back to when you got back? It had to be 200 plus.
Yeah, I think it was 138. It was a lot.
Well, without further ado, we will jump into talking about Cooper Jr. But if you are interested in hearing more about the combine, Skip and I are going to be doing, I think, a little combine recap, winners and losers episode this week on the Couch GM podcast. It'll come out Friday morning. So Cooper measured in 6 foot, 199 pounds, ran a 4.42 40-yard dash, which is a great time for his size. He was a 3-star prospect out of high school, and the Indianapolis native spent his entire college career at Indiana. So that you don't see that a whole lot in today's college football landscape, and especially I think because he didn't really break out until this year, I kind of assumed that he had transferred in from somewhere. And I was like, no, he's actually just kind of waited his turn, and he's been at Indiana the whole time, which I like that. I like that about him. And so he took a red shirt his freshman year. He didn't play. And then sophomore year, minimal involvement. Junior year, it picked up a little bit more, 28 catches, 594 yards, and 7 touchdowns. But, 594 yards on 28 catches is a ton. That's 21 yards a catch. So he was just straight deep threat, it seems like. And then this year, he really broke out as a much more regular part of the offense. 69 receptions, 937 receiving yards, and 13 touchdowns. He also had 3 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. That's 2 rushing touchdowns that he had in his collegiate career. So a threat with the ball in his hands, which we for sure will talk about a little bit later on. But yeah, 69 catches, I believe. 69 catches, not over 90 targets. And he won a national championship and second team All Big Ten honors. So, as always, we are going to be digging into the film. If you're new to the show, we watch 5+ games of all 22. We watch every snap that they're on the field, not just the highlights. And we scout. We make detailed notes. We let you guys know trait by trait what we saw. And so we're going to be doing that tonight, as well as referencing some PFF data along the way. So, as always, with the wide receiver position, we start with release and route running because we think the most important job for a wide receiver is to get open. If you get open, you're going to earn targets. If you earn a lot of targets, you're going to score a lot of PPR fantasy points. And we are, of course, coming at this from a dynasty fantasy football lens. So, release and route running, I'll throw it to you first, Rupert. What did you notice here?
I thought these were both plus traits for him. I thought his release was slightly above average. I gave him a 7 there. I think he played in the slot quite a bit, so he just didn't have a ton of reps against press. But there were occasions like where he was getting pressed in the slot, and I saw him have like a nice outside release, stack the DB right away on a seam route. So there's definitely flashes there, and he has good footwork with it. It just wasn't something I saw consistently enough to give him a higher rating there. And I think I'll say the same thing like with the short and intermediate routes. Like he wasn't used on those as much as the deep routes. It makes sense with his speed. I gave him a 7 for his short and intermediate routes. I thought they were solid, just not a wide array. He wasn't doing them as much. Because again, he's being used more as like that slot and stretch the field kind of player. I thought his deep routes were really good. I saw a lot of nuance, especially at the stem. I gave him an 8 for his deep route running. That's where I thought he really shined.
I gave him a little higher grades, specifically release and short to intermediate route running. I thought while he didn't have an advanced release package, like he didn't do a lot at the release point. Like I thought he was still really quick. Had quick feet. He was quick off the line. I thought he could stack defenders well. I think some of his best routes actually were like those mid-range comeback routes, the out routes, working across the field. I mean, I thought he got out of his stem, his breaks really well. He was explosive through those breaks. Both of those were really plus traits for me. I gave him 7.5. I thought where he really shined, kind of what you were talking about, Rupert, was his deep routes. For me, I mean, I gave Omar Cooper a 9 for his deep routes. I thought he was elite when it came to deep routes. I thought that he was, he showed a lot of nuance. He showed a lot of maturity and understanding how to cut inside and break outside, or stack a defender outside and then kind of cut up the field. Like I thought he did this at a really high level. So all really, really positive traits for me. I think when it comes to a route runner, like he was a plus level route runner for me, which honestly I wasn't expecting coming into the film. So I was pleasantly surprised by this area of his game.
Yeah, so Rupert, to your point, he was 83% out of the slot. So that was his primary role with the team, and kind of a big slot. I mean, almost 200 pounds, 6 feet tall. Like he's a big slot, and he does have good athleticism, which we'll talk about later. Tested well with the 4.42 speed. This is an interesting data point, I think. So I found this graph on social media from at Sumer Sports, and got to give credit where it's due. I think this is really helpful. It's a route distribution percentage. And so Omar Cooper, he ran his highest run routes, 17% was an out route, which phenomenal, by the way. His out route was filthy. 16% was post, 11% was crossing routes, 28% were screens. Those were his 4 highest route distribution. I said 11% crossing. He had 12% running hitches. So those were the primary routes that he ran. It's decently spread out there between some short routes and some deeper routes. Not a lot of slants. Only 3% of his routes were slants, which I find interesting. Whereas his teammate Elijah Surratt feasted on 20% slant diet. But yeah, so a decently diverse route tree there. And overall the PFF numbers are really good too. He had an 86 receiving grade per PFF, which was that was 11th out of 270 FBS wide receivers with at least 50 plus targets. And he also had 2.5 yards per route run, which was 36th out of 270. So those are both metrics that I think really speak well to his route running. He was 57th in receiving grade versus man coverage, and second in the FBS for his receiving grade versus zone coverage. So he was only behind Jeremiah Smith, right above Mekhi Lemon. So very, very good versus zone. So those just a few metrics to help paint a fuller picture here with the film. But my film observations were pretty much overwhelmingly positive. I saw it similarly to you, Jackson, in terms of the deep routes being his real strong suit. I had him at an 8.5 for deep route running, and I had him at a 7.5 for both release and short to intermediate. So again, if you're new listening to the show, 6 is NFL average, 7 is good by NFL standards, 8 is great by NFL standards. So, and then 9 is incredible. So to say he's 8.5 is say he's somewhere between great and incredible at running deep routes, and significantly above average in the short to intermediate area and against press coverage if I'm giving him a 7.5 in those areas. So overall, I thought, he had a few specific routes that were just filthy, like his out route and his corner route. Man, that corner where he would, especially the ones where he would, I forget the technical term for this. I think it's like a post corner where he fakes to the inside like it's a post and then snaps back to the outside. And man, that was like multiple times on film, just faking that post, snapping back into the corner, and just getting like yards and yards of separation because he could really sink his hips well. He changed directions on a dime, a lot of suddenness, very smooth. So yeah, a lot to like there from Omar Cooper as a route runner. And I didn't know what to expect. Like I really had no preconceived anything about Omar Cooper coming in. I saw he was starting to get some height, but I didn't even really know what his play style was. I didn't know he was a primary slot until I turned on the film. So this was like a total blank slate, no preconceived notions at all. And I came away like, wow, this guy's a really fun route runner.
Yeah, no, he sinks. You mentioned sinking his hips. He flips his hips really well too. I think that contributes to some of those corner routes that you saw in the out routes, right? Like he switches directions and changes directions so smoothly that there were so many times, so many notes that I noted that like DBs were just lost at the stem of his routes, which was just so fun to watch. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, really fluid hips, explosive change of direction, and I think he was played with good physicality too. He did hand fighting well. He understood leverage. Would get some stacks going where he'd stack a guy on his back and then snap out of the route. So good mix of like technique and athleticism. Overall, definitely came away impressed. So let's talk about his ball skills. So when we say ball skills, it's really, that's a broad encompassing term that covers his ability to catch the ball. So hands goes into that, like just, do you reach out and catch it with your hands? Do you have late hands? Do you pluck it away from your frame? How are you in contested situations? Do you have long arms? Do you have a catch radius? Body control and the ability to kind of contort your body, tracking the ball down the field and not losing track of where it's at. So all of that goes into ball skills. And I'll start with you this time, Jackson. What did you notice here?
Yeah, really plus level grades for me when it comes to his ball skills was several grades that I had that were really good for him. And the really good grades for me starts with hands. I thought that Cooper had really strong hands at the catch point. Didn't really note any times where he didn't reach out and pluck the ball. I mean, just when the ball was thrown to him, he was coming down with the ball more often than he was not. Just really strong hands. Secure wide receiver for His quarterback, he knew that he was going to get the ball when it was thrown his way. I gave him a 7 for contested catch, 7 for catch radius. Both good grades for me. I thought there were some occasions where he didn't extend his frame as much as I thought maybe he could have. There were some balls that were thrown up and away sometimes that I felt maybe he could have come down with that he didn't climb the ladder and go and get. This wasn't a huge problem for me, but it was enough that I couldn't give him a higher grade than 7 for either one of those grades. Body control, though, was one of my favorite traits for him. I gave him a 9 for body control. There were just so many times where he would reach back to a ball. He would show the bend while in midair. He would toe tap along the sideline. There was one play in the back of the end zone where like he goes up and like toe taps the back of the end zone to secure a catch. Like just really phenomenal body control.
That was a game winner, by the way. That catch
was it a game winner?
It was against Penn State. It was a huge ranked matchup, and it came down to that play, and that toe tap in the end zone was a game winner.
I didn't know that. I mean, it was a phenomenal play. Like I watched that and I was like, wow. Like it left me kind of speechless a little bit. And then I gave him an 8 for ball tracking as well. I thought the over the shoulder throws, tracking the ball in midair, slowing his speed, adjusting to balls. Really did that at a great level. So for the most part, really solid areas for me. And there were a few areas that like he was just phenomenal in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I have all my like hands catching grades above average. I give him a 7 for hands. I charted a couple drops. Doesn't seem like a huge issue, but they were just not the best kind of drops that you want to see. One who was like wide open running a crossing route and just dropped it. I wanted to give his hands higher because he does like really flash those super strong hands, like one-handed catches. But that's why I went a 7.5 for his contested catch. I thought he did really good here. Also gave him a 7 for physicality. Sometimes he would kind of, I wouldn't say get, manhandled, but like he could kind of get taken out of the play a little bit. But that wasn't consistent. So I really like that part of his game. I give him 7.5 for his catch radius. I thought he did jump and climb the ladder well. His arms look pretty long too. So there's multiple catches where you're like, how in the world did he come down with that? And his best rate I thought was body control. I gave him an 8.5, so a little bit lower than you there, Jackson, but I still think it's a phenomenal grade.
Yeah, I noticed the same drop that you mentioned on the crosser. I only charted 2 drops, and both of them would have been like really big plays, and both of them should have been like easy catches. But overall, the numbers say that it's not an issue. Like, I mean, he had a 4.2% drop rate, 3 drops on 91 targets. And so I guess we saw 2 of them, or I saw 2 of them. But anyway, so overall, I think really strong hands. I gave him an 8 for hands. And the contested catch, the catch radius, 6 foot, not the longest arms, a little bit like physically limited there. I gave him 7. I thought the technique was good. I thought the fight and the go up and get it. I didn't see him necessarily doing anything wrong in those situations. Just a little bit physically limited. As far as the numbers go, he had a 50% contested catch rate on 14 targets. So he caught 7 out of his 14. Not a negative, but not like an overwhelming positive either. But same as you guys, I had an 8.5 for body control. I had him at an 8 for ball tracking and a 7.5 for physicality. So I thought overall, like nothing in the ball skills that was a red flag, all above average with a few special areas, specifically body control. I thought was, so I saw that exactly the same as you guys. So yeah, overall, a lot of positive things to say about Omar Cooper. I mean, I was texting you guys. We try not to like kind of inform each other's process or give each other a bias, but I was the first one to watch him, and I was like, man, like I was trying not to say like, oh, he's amazing, because sometimes a guy can be a fun tape watch, but still have like a lower grade. 'Cause like what he does well is really fun to watch, but there's some big holes. So I wasn't trying to like uh tell you what my grade was or anything, but I was like, guys, you got to turn on the tape. Like this guy's fun to watch. So um before we continue on with the rest of the show, we're going to cover his athleticism, his yards after the catch, some intangibles that we'll talk about, and just kind of our overall dynasty outlook on him. But before we do that, I do got to let you guys know about the great resources and tools we have available at CouchScouts.com. If you join the Couch Scouts family, we have way more than just what's on this free public podcast. We have a rookie guide where we're going to take our in-depth thoughts, not just on Omar Cooper Jr., but 60 plus prospects, honestly, probably 70 plus when all is said and done. Anybody that you would even think about drafting in your fantasy league, we're going to have film grades, detailed scouting notes, rankings, everything that you need to dominate your rookie draft. It represents hundreds of hours of research that we do so that you don't have to. And we've had our customers kind of rave about that the last few years. So definitely, you're going to want to check out the rookie guide. This is the time of year for it. We do a bonus show every week where we cover a sleeper name on a podcast just for our members. And we have an all 22 film room and all kinds of other great resources. So check it out, couchscouts.com, and you can join for $60 a year, which comes out to $5 a month. I think we pack a ton of value into that. So check it out, couchscouts.com. With all that being said, let's jump back into the show. And the next area that we're going to talk about here for Omar Cooper Jr. is his athleticism and his yards after the catch. So we'll start with athleticism, game speed, burst, quickness. And Jackson, I'll throw it to you first. What do you notice here with his athleticism?
Yeah, no, he was a really plus level athlete for me. Really fun to watch in the open field. I gave him see if I can find it here. I gave him an 8 for his quickness. I thought, that translated really well to his route running. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but like he just got in and out of his break so quick, flipped his hips really well. Was just a really fluid route runner and receiver in open space. 8 for burst and 8 for game speed. So, I mean, I gave him 8s all the way across the board. I thought he ate up coverage in a hurry. I thought he had good acceleration. He built up to his top speed fast. And once he got up to his top speed, like he had a really good top speed. There were several plays where he would get a crosser or catch a deep ball and he would pull away from defensive backs. So to me, that shows great speed. I think that showed up at the combine with his 40-yard dash time. Like, we're not just talking about somebody that can run fast in a straight line. Like, he has functional athleticism to me, which is important for a receiver. So really good grades for me here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also had him at 8s across the board, and nothing. I mean, 8 is great. It's great athleticism. That's literally like the word by 8 on our on our outline is great. So it's a great score, but it's not like incredible elite. I mean, he's one of those guys that when you're watching him, you're not like, oh my gosh, jaw dropping, like he's just blazing by everybody, but more than fast enough to threaten deep, to get DBs on their heels, to stretch the defense, and then be able to snap out of that, like sinks his hips really well, really fluid hips, sudden change of direction, all that kind of stuff. Like you said, very functional athlete. And, I think his athleticism really showed up after the catch, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. But yeah, one of the things that stood out to me, not just that he had great burst, but I thought he had great acceleration control. Meaning some people are one speed runners. They're like, okay, I'm either not moving or I'm running my full speed. And the best players, I think, have that throttle control where they can, I'm at 0%, I'm at 15%, I'm at 45, I'm at 90, and he can just kind of throttle control at will. So there were lots of times where it's like okay, he is starting out fast, then maybe throttles down, lulls the guy to sleep, hits another gear on that double move, bang! All of a sudden, DB's like, "What happened?" He's 5 yards wide open. So yeah, the ability to kind of change up his pace and confuse that way stood out to me with the athleticism. But yeah, eights across the board. Did you see it similarly, Rupert?
Yeah, not too much to add there. I had him at 8 for game speed, 8 for burst, and 7.5 for quickness, and that was one I've been debating if it should be up to an 8. So right in lockstep.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm really glad you mentioned, though, real quick, Cooper, that throttle control, because there were so many plays that I noted where he would do just that. Like he would be working the outside, he would challenge vertically. The DB would get back on his heels and kind of get stacked backwards. He would throttle down. The DB would push forward, and then he would throttle back up, and he would be 5 to 6 yards ahead of him. So I mean, just really, really wanted to highlight that you mentioned that because that was a huge part of his game.
Yeah. So let's talk about yards after the catch because I mean, if you've seen any clips of this guy on social media, it's probably been the yards after catch stuff. Like just some crazy plays where he's getting hit really hard and somehow keeping his feet and shrugging off the tackle and then getting hit really hard again and then doing it for a third time. And it's like he was like his legs were at a 90-degree angle to the ground. Like I don't know how he stood back up and kept his balance on some of those. Like honestly, he'd make a pretty good running back. Like he had elite contact balance and some elusiveness too, and good second level vision. Like, and he's got a decent build for it. 6 foot, 199. Like, dude could have a future at running back if he wanted it. But yeah, special with the ball in his hands, and the numbers back it up. 7.2 yards after the catch per attempt in 2025. That's 27th out of 270 in the FBS. And my guess is if you limited it down to power 4 receivers, it's probably top 5. I mean, he's special. 6.7 yards after the catch on targets within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So they're throwing it to him on screens and stuff. I mentioned that was 28% of his route tree. That was his most run route was a screen, but not to the extent of the guy we're going to talk about on the bonus podcast tonight. But a healthy diet of screens where the team is trying to get the ball in his hands because they know he's special with the ball in his hands. And to me, that's a good thing. Like if all you can do is screens, that's a problem. But if the team is giving you like a healthy diet of layup routes for PPR, that's gold. Like, okay, I'm winning deep and I'm winning all over the field. I've proven that I can win at all 3 levels, but also on top of that, the team is throwing me multiple screens a game. That's really valuable. So he forced 27 missed tackles in 2025. A lot of really encouraging numbers, and the film absolutely backs it up. I had him at a 9 for yards after catch.
If you want a fun game to go and watch that utilizes his yards after the catch, go and watch that Clemson game. Because I mean, he was just tearing the Clemson DBs up. There was one play in particular where like he catches the ball over the middle of the field, and I swear breaks 6 or 7 tackles on the way to a large game. Just incredible. After the catch, I'm right there with you, Cooper. For me, I gave him a 8.5 for yards after the catch. He's just a special athlete, elite contact balance, follows his blocks well, but like he keeps his legs churning and he's consistently getting extra yards.
Yeah, go back and watch versus Illinois too. I'll even give you a timestamp. The 57-second mark on the Dynasty Nerds film for Omar Cooper versus Illinois. Just crazy. He takes a slant and breaks like 4 tackles and just nuts.
Yeah, I'm in a lockstep. I have him at 8.5. His contact balance, the physicality, once he had the ball in his hands, was really stood out to me. And like looking at my score, I'm like, should it be a 9? But there's so many good yak guys in this draft class. I don't know if I mean, we got Branch, who we're talking about later, Jeremy Bernard, Casey Concepcion's really good, Makai Lemon. Like, there's a lot of good yak weapons, and he's definitely right up there with all of them.
And I have Lemon and Concepcion at an 8.5. I've got Cooper at a 9. So I thought he was a little bit better than those guys. And those guys are really good too. But yeah, I mean, this is 8.5, 9. You're splitting hairs, but the point is he's really dangerous after the catch. So overall here, I mean, I don't have a single grade lower than a 7 on him. So he's a really well-rounded
Same.
player. There's no glaring weakness in his game. I think if you were gonna poke a hole in his profile, it wouldn't be a film thing. It would be the fact that statistically his best games came against bad competition. So I saw a tweet on him that I don't think I bookmarked it, so I don't remember it, but it was like it showed what his stats were against uh, the best teams that he played and the worst teams that he played, and it was a pretty big difference. Now, granted, most people play better against the bad teams that they play. That's not out of the ordinary necessarily, but for him, it's a pretty big split, maybe more so than usual. Indiana State Sycamores, he put up 10 catches for 207 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that's a pretty healthy percentage of his production just in that one game against a pretty no-name school. So, I mean, 937 yards, 200 of them came against Indiana State, 13 touchdowns, 4 of them came against Indiana State. So if you're poking a hole, that would be it. But I mean, again, the film, we watched film against I didn't even watch the Indiana State game. Like that wasn't even in our sample. And that was his best game. And we're still raving about him. So we watched him against high level competition. The traits are there. And I mean, even in the college football playoff, like he had 5 catches for 71 yards in the championship game against Miami. Had that game winner against Penn State with NFL caliber players all over that defense. So I'm personally not worried about this. Like my favorite game that I watched was versus Illinois, and they were ranked 9th in the country when Indiana played against them. Uh, and Indiana beat them 63-10. So like Omar Cooper probably didn't even play that whole game. If they had played if they had not been up by so much, he might have had an even bigger statistical performance. So I'm personally not worried about that narrative at all. Um, the buzz and the drumbeat is getting so strong. Daniel Jeremiah had him at 19th in his last big board that he put out. It's seeming more and more likely. I wouldn't say it's a lock, but it seems very likely at this point, especially running a 4.4 at the combine, that Omar Cooper Jr. is going to be a first round pick in the NFL draft. So a little bit of a late breakout, some numbers against lower level of competition. Those are your knocks. But the production is there. The yards per route run is there. The yards after catch per attempt, all of it, like the PFF receiving grade, all of the metrics are fantastic. The film is fantastic. So for me, he came out at a 78.65, which is on the high end of a fantasy starter. It's a couple points away from being like elite fantasy producer, but it's a high end fantasy starter. And it's a few points lower than like Tyson, Concepcion, all those guys. So for me, he's sitting right now at my 1.8 if I had to do a draft today. In fact, I did do a draft today. I was on the clock at 1.7, and I had the choice between Concepcion and Omar Cooper Jr. And I had to really decide like where am I at on this, and I chose Concepcion there. But I was pretty torn. I mean, I like both guys a lot, and but yeah, so Omar Cooper, I think, enters that tier. Like if 2 through 5 is a tier, then for me 6 through 8 is a tier. Concepcion, Sadiq, Omar, Cooper, I would put all in the same tier. Would you guys see it similarly?
I have a 75.6 grade on Cooper, so I'm a little bit lower there. Yeah, so I don't think I'd have him that high.
I mean, I'll split the tie. I've got him at a 78.83. So right there on the border of elite fantasy starter, really high end or elite guy. He's on the border of high level fantasy starter for me. What I found really interesting, I didn't expect this coming into this tape watch, but you hear everywhere that it's 7 and then a drop off, right? It's 7 and then a drop off. Like I came out of this tape watch going, for me, it's 8. Like there's a pretty solid top 8, and then still some fun guys after that. So for me, I would be right there with you, Cooper. I would have a hard time taking between Concepcion and Cooper. For me, both of those guys are really good players.
Yeah, so we also all really liked Elijah Surratt too, and we're gonna, he's gonna for sure be on our second look series. If you don't know, we usually do a second look series in April where we go back to some of the guys and look again, either because we're really far off consensus, or maybe the three of us didn't all see them the same, and so we want to kind of take a fresh look at it from that lens. Or sometimes it's just because we did it really early, and Surratt was the very first week. Surratt and Carnell Tate were the first two guys we watched. And sometimes you're shaking off the rust a little bit. You haven't watched tape that intensively in a calendar year, and you're like, I need to remind myself like what an 8 looks like and what a 9 looks like and all that kind of stuff. So um but we really liked Surratt, and we're going to take another look at him. But which Indiana wide receiver would you guys choose if you had to draft him today? Jackson?
Cooper for me, hands down. That's a pretty easy decision for me.
I'd probably still take Cooper. Surratt has a slightly higher film grade for me, but I think Cooper has much more upside.
Yeah, and I think Surratt is he's better against press coverage. He's better in the short to intermediate game, has some better contested catchability. But Cooper is so much more athletic, way better after the catch, better on the deep routes. So they're different players, and I can totally see how they complemented each other as well as they did playing on the same team at the collegiate level. So I see a lot of people out there that feel like they have to like pick their guy. Like, oh man, I love Omar Cooper. He's so much better than Elijah Surratt. And then I see other people kind of go in the other direction, and I'm like, can I like both? I kind of feel like I like both. So yeah, I would, even from projected draft capital standpoint, I would take Omar Cooper Jr. right now, and I do have him a couple points higher in my film grade, but I like both of those guys a lot, and excited to take that second look at Surratt sometime next month. So
What's really
yeah.
interesting is it's such a strong wide receiver class this year. Like it's really fun. Honestly, if you need a wide receiver, this year is going to be a good year to get one.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I think it's a deep wide receiver class, but it has some top heavy talent too. Like you don't necessarily have that like Malik Neighbors level talent in this class, but you've got, by my count, I've got now 5 wide receivers that are all in the same range of prospect as I had Tedero McMillan last year from a recliner rating standpoint, all within a point of that. So, I mean, I think I had him at like a 79 point something, and I've got Cooper just below that at 78.65. So, that's a really strong grade for my top 5 wide receivers in the class. And then I've got another 5 guys after that are from like 73 to 76. So like those are pretty strong grades too. And we haven't even finished scouting the wide receiver class yet. So a lot to like here. But we'll wrap up the show. Hope you guys enjoyed listening, found some value from it. I know we enjoyed watching Omar Cooper Jr. this week, and always happy, with all the hate on 2026 picks. It's like the further and further we get into this thing, we keep finding more and more guys that we like, and it boosts up the class a little bit. So if you haven't already, definitely join our free Discord. The link will be in the show notes. No strings attached. We just want to get to know the people that listen to the show. And if you enjoyed it, leave us a review on whatever podcast app you're listening on. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a blessed week.